The world of gaming is always changing, and with so many options out there, picking what to play can be tough, especially if you're a bit picky. So, what should you be playing on your PC right now? Don't worry, we've got you covered with a list of 23 must-play games for this year. Some are super popular, others are unique, creative, or just plain cool. Yeah, we're throwing a lot at you, but it'll all make sense as we go. All right, let's dive into the list. Starting off at number 23, we have Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, an expansive CRPG that captures the grim-dark future of the 40K universe pretty well. On paper, the game sounds awesome. Take the framework of a BioWare-style RPG and put it in one of the most insane settings there is. As a Rogue Trader, you're given permission to travel uncharted space in the Warhammer universe. So in this game, you're given a ton of freedom to do whatever you want. There are endless opportunities to be a real bastard to everyone you meet, and also the possibility to be a saint. The amount of leeway you have in the game is astounding. There are entire quests that can go in radically different directions just by how you play. It's really impressive. If you're a fan of 40K, then this is a must-play game. There's so much that they get right here. Some of the characters are iconic, especially your personal Voxmaster, Vigdis, who provides critical updates and organizes key events, such as your Rogue Trader ceremony, reflecting the weight of your decisions in the grimdark universe. Anyway, playing this game is totally worth your time. At number 22, we have Rust. There are a lot of survival games out there, but few, if any of them, hit that sweet spot between chaos and complexity better than this one. It's a game that's just weird enough to attract the crazies and not so arcane that it demands you to spend all night watching YouTube tutorials just to figure out how to get food. It's an ideal game to get your friends together and play. 90% of these types of games are the friend experiences, and Rust, when you're on the same page as everyone else, is a blast. That is, it's a blast if you know what you're getting into. Some people call Rust a gift that keeps on giving, and honestly, I think that's the wrong way to look at it, because sometimes everyone is having fun with a week of Rust, and other times it's one of the most miserable experiences in your life. It depends, it fluctuates. It depends on the server, sure, but for the most part, it depends on if everyone's staying awake on watch, because if not, then your shit's getting stole. If you don't like waking up naked on a beach with nothing but a rock, then maybe Rust isn't for you. If that doesn't sound so bad, then give it a shot. Moving on to number 21, we have Stellar Blade, or as some people are calling it, Bayonetta Korean Edition. But whatever you call it, it's very clearly cribbing from a bunch of different games and mixing them all together into what surprisingly amounts to something pretty fun. It's got the world building of a Souls game, the structure of something like Nier Automata, and the immediate satisfaction of a character action game. It's a combination of things that, in theory, sound like they don't go together. But at least in certain sections, this game kind of works. It's flashy, it's unapologetically stylish, full of attitude, and is essentially what all the kids are calling a certified banger, unless they're sleeping on it, or they still have their heads up their asses over that butt controversy. But that's another story, and I want to focus on the fun. In terms of gameplay, it is probably more about the spectacle than the depth, but that's okay because it really leans hard into just being supremely satisfying to play. The parry system is a little unusual and very essential, but once you get a handle on the timing, that becomes another fun thing to juggle. I'll admit, the story kinda left me cold, but the rest of the game I found engaging enough that I didn't really notice all that much. And next, over at number 20, we have Divinity Original Sin 2. If you've been paying attention, then this will probably not come as a surprise to you, but I talked good things about this game quite a bit, and that's for a reason. This is it. This is the rare game where the hype is warranted and the praise is deserved. It's a masterclass in CRPG design. It's a game that somehow manages to be extremely dense and complex, but also appealing to newcomers. Pretty much wherever you are on your RPG journey, there's something here for you. The pitch is fairly basic. You're prisoners on a mystery island, but slowly it kind of unravels and reveals itself to be having a lot more going on than the fairly straightforward prologue lets on. The writing is great, but what makes it so engaging is the scenarios. You're not always just killing everything you see. A lot of the game is exploration and talking to things. You're given a lot of freedom to just pretty much do whatever you want. And it's got co-op at a time when that was still fairly uncommon for games like this. Larian went all out to give you as many tools as possible to make each playthrough unique. And the gimmicks they put in don't just feel like gimmicks. They actually play into the general design really well. Like I said before, there's a reason people talk this game up so much. Is it an all-time great? Maybe not, but it's one of the best from Larian so far, and it's still getting a lot of players even up to this day, which kind of surprising knowing that Baldur's Gate 3 is already out. Now, over at number 19, we have Total War Warhammer 3. It should probably be no surprise to see this game show up on a list like this. Total War is one of the flagship examples of PC gaming, and the popularity of the mashup series between the classic strategy games and Warhammer seems only to have grown over the years. Total War Warhammer 3 is by far the most ambitious entry in this strange little trilogy, and even when the game doesn't function as intended, it's a sight to behold. This is the pick to talk about, not just because it's the biggest, but also because, with all the add-ons, the 3 games are basically supposed to all be combined together to make one unified world, so it just kind of makes sense to bring this one up. Be aware though, if you do get it, you might want to check out the install sizes beforehand because it's pretty crazy. These games aren't for everyone. In fact, they're barely even for strategy fans. Like the Total War series is one of the most obtuse and hard to follow ones for new players. There is a campaign in all of these games, but narrative is never the main focus, and in the Warhammer games, I think it's not even really a consideration at all. But if you're a strategy head though, this game is a must that you definitely should play at least once. Now next up, over at number 18, we have Path of Exile. Despite it technically being an old game, you can't talk about the best PC games without bringing up this one. Look, we'll eventually get to Diablo 4, but as of right now, even with Diablo back and getting updated fairly frequently, Path of Exile is still going strong. In the world of ARPGs, this is usually where it's at, even if it's not necessarily something we talk about every day. Like, it's a complete monster of a game. It's got an insanely loyal player base, and it's one of those games that seems to just get bigger and bigger rather than eventually fizzling out. It's an intimidating game to get into, especially with all the years of updates they've implemented at this point. This is one where, if you want to play it, it's probably a good idea to watch a few guides. It's a little overwhelming, but it's also free, so if you're curious, there's pretty much nothing stopping you from jumping in. Just know this is a game that demands a lot of your time if you want to really get into the weeds, but that's what a lot of ARPG people like. They don't just want to play a game. These types of games, for a lot of people, work like comfort food, something you can keep coming back to and burns time in a satisfying way. And in that regard, Path of Exile is one of the best. And next, over at number 17, we have S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chornobyl. GSC Game Worlds is back with their famous franchise as their latest release takes it to new heights in terms of graphical fidelity and scope. You know, it's been in development hell for like 7 years. They've gone through many harsh realities, but perhaps it's been worth it because this game is officially out. The sequel is set to be the biggest entry in the franchise yet, as you take control of Skiff, a stalker who enters the zone with a unique artifact. Of course, issues unfold, and what was supposed to be one of the biggest payouts and something to solve the protagonist's past and save him from himself has gone completely wrong and starts a wild hunt across the deadly zone to face down all manners of anomalies. Yes, the main story is as you expect. It's typical post-apocalyptic, like backstabbing, mystery, blah 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 fare, but it really works. It sucks you in, and the game here does a good job of slowly teaching you the world or reintroducing you to the world. Where the game really gets you is the gameplay, that awesome shooty, PC shootery stuff that you come to expect, but brought to a new level in terms of impressive visuals and presentation. Still, all the mechanics you know and love, things like ballistics and weather actually matters, and it all works well. You know, when you could get it to run, this game did have some technical issues at launch, but it's safe to say S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's atmosphere and gameplay on its own is compelling enough to warrant a playthrough for those who are curious. It might not live up to the legendary status of the original game, but it still gets the job done. Next on the list, at number 16, we have Civilization 7. It's back with a banger, and with this new installment, everyone is going to keep playing these games forever. They are so addictive. Now, Civilization 7 features a couple of really smart changes that really just bring it into the modern day. You can jump through historical eras. This one breaks the game into 3 sections, like the Ancient Age, the Exploration Age, and the Modern Age, where you're allowed to change your nation every act. So you could do things like start off as the Spartans, switch to the Normans, and then finish as the British. It gives you more leeway to adjust your strategies depending on the surrounding environment created by the other civilizations. In a thing like this, it really works as a fun way to kind of spice things up a bit in your typical Civ playthrough. The game also adds new things like government property, which were like shared important buildings between major cities. You have shared cities, there are fuel resources needed to build certain city improvements. There are unique elements per civilization, of course, and skill trees to upgrade your leaders. Still, at its very foundation, it is a civilization game. You know what to expect here. If you love building up societies through thousands of years of human history and usually lose some track of time in the process, then you're probably already playing Civ 7, but if not, this is definitely a good jumping on point. At number 15, we have The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion Remastered. So, if you're itching for a nostalgic fantasy RPG or a newcomer curious about one of the older Elder Scrolls, it's a pretty solid remaster. If you're okay with the price, it tidies up some glitches, makes combat nicer with some new animations and tweaks, leverages Unreal Engine 5 for improved environments, faces, and some really good lighting, but most importantly, a more accessible, practical, simple leveling system. You know, Oblivion, let's just say it had some very unique quest design. It was ambitious for the time, even despite the nostalgia. Like, you know, it's still awkward, it's a quirky one, but there's a lot to love still in those detailed city layouts and those secretive NPC schedules. Unlike Skyrim, Oblivion found strength in its smaller narratives. It was kind of just like a clothesline of quests and exploration to hang on it, and that really makes it work. In 2025, sure, Oblivion Remastered might look a little bit more charming. It gets the usual dose of Bethesda jank frustrations and bugs, falling through the floor, some stuff like that, it's still a thing, and some textures look pretty flat, especially like armor and stuff. Still, returning to Cyrodiil and some of its best bits is worth it with Oblivion here, from exploring the sprawling Imperial City to getting whacked by that gigantic orc who calls you ugly outside that tavern. Yeah, those are memories, and it's still got the good stuff. Now, if I'm introducing someone to the Elder Scrolls, I might actually still start with Skyrim, but then I'd go to Oblivion Remastered, and then I would go to the OG if it was possible. Coming in next, we have Don't Starve Together. So survival games would not be survival games without permadeath and rewarding exploration stuff, and Don't Starve Together still manages to stand out in a big way. This tiny little indie darling is just beloved, and people still like giving it a shot and trying it out. And honestly, in 2025, there still really isn't anything quite like it. Whether as alone or as a group, you manage your resources, your health, your sanity, and then try to face the rest of the world and figure out all of its systems. I mean, that's really what it's about. A lot of games kind of at this point just put things on an outline for you. This is one of those slower paced ones that really takes that away from you and expects you to figure it out in a good way. There's food to grow, bases to build, there's seasonal shifts, there's new threats that arise. Even as you know and love the game, there will always be new mechanisms to keep players coming back. The crafting's pretty deep, and weather, like I said, that sounds simple, like weather, but in this game, it's a seriously solid system. Scorching summers, brutal winters, I really keep you on your toes. The art style is also really unique and eye-catching, and the world is just plain weird and unique. It's still awesome, and sure, if you're the people who play this all the time, you might be absolutely sick of it, but for people looking to try something new, this game is still a great one to recommend, and it really does get the job done because now is the perfect time. You know, I'm trying to keep this list mostly things you can really easily jump in and play right now, and Don't Starve Together is a strong entry here. Now over at number 13, we have Peak. There are tons of co-op games out there we've recommended a lot during this series, but one of the most surprising new games of the year is Peak. Now I know a brand new game usually tends to get the hype, but then gets forgotten about weeks or months later. I don't think that's the case here. It's a little rare what I'm offering up. Peak is another indie game that somehow managed to grab the attention of many gamers, and I can see that being a co-op game, there's a chance that Peak can hold its position as a pretty heavily played PC game. So, the concept here is simple. An airplane crash lands on a strange island, leaving its passengers a whole host of quirky people, and the only way to escape is to climb to the top of the highest peak on the island. The mountain has seemingly drawn people from all different times and places, and it's also filled with lots of strange, deadly traps and obstacles, as well as the ever-present threat of exhaustion. It's a game that's as much about managing your stamina as it is anything else. There are times when you feel like Spider-Man after just climbing up a simple cliff while managing your load, thinking about how tired you are and how much more climbing you're going to be able to do before you pass out. It's as much a survival game as it is a climbing game. They really kind of nailed that balance. Each biome presents its own dangers and challenges. It's a simple game with a simple gimmick, but it works. You can play it on your own or with randoms, but the best way to experience Peak is to get some friends together and work your way up the mountain. Next on the list, one of my favorite, we have Wasteland 3. So, the granddaddy of post-apocalyptic RPGs, like before your Fallout, was Wasteland. The third entry in the series probably is the best one. Where others in the series were fun nostalgia trips for people who remember the original game, this one stands alone as something that's pretty engaging in its own right. It's probably not as good of an RPG as Divinity or Baldur's Gate, but few are, and Wasteland 3 has its own thing really going for it. The plot and missions are all kind of like weird twists on your standard post-apocalyptic scenarios, and the outcome is that everything just feels a little more unpredictable here, and that makes the narrative side of the game all the more engaging as far as I'm concerned. The turn-based combat can get a little annoying at times, but the various shops that let you upgrade your squad or your liberally re-equipment vehicles are great. By the time you're in the end game, you're given so many tools that the combat actually feels a little more tactical planning than a turn-based RPG normally does, and I mean that in a good way. There are a lot of choices to make in this game, mostly just for the sake of satisfaction rather than something that radically changes the overall story, but the turn-based stuff hits. Yeah, you know what to expect here. Wasteland 3 doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a solid, engaging experience, and I would play 100 more games like this if they just keep making them. Now at number 11, we have Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. If you want a CRPG that really sinks its teeth into the RPG systems, then this is the game for you. In comparison to some of the other games I talked about, Wrath of the Righteous is more of a tabletop simulation brought to life than it is like a cinematic dialogue and combat experience. Sure, there's some dialogue and some good combat, but it's the crunchy RPG systems that are what really make this game sing. If you haven't played a Pathfinder game before, know this: the experience can be optimized. Now, if that's not the most attractive way of putting it, maybe that turns you off, but what I'm saying is that it is a really well thought out game that rewards your time and commitment and learning it inside and out, and it really makes a difference in the long haul and leads to more success as you explore a demonic infested world. It's both more and less flexible than its predecessors. It's flexible in the ways that you want it to be. Wrath of the Righteous is a lot more reactive, and you are given a lot more choices in how your adventure plays out, and those choices are really critical. In terms of story, I'd say it's richer than the original Pathfinder, but it probably won't satisfy everybody. Not everyone is into the kind of boilerplate story of like spilling over with angels and demons and stuff in the Crusades, but Wrath of the Righteous actually runs with it, and you'd be surprised how hard it runs. Looking back at this list now, I'm realizing we have a lot of RPG games, and I'm sorry about that, but I hope there's something here for everyone. Next up, we have Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. Look, if you played the first game, then you're probably here already. The sequel took all the things that made the original game special and just kind of improves upon them. It's a game that's more generous to the player while also still being realistic and naturally immersive. This is the game for the person who thinks that the closest thing to a real-world sword-fighting simulator should be something like this. Now, we're not going to argue anything here about realism or anything like that. We're not weapon experts. Everything we're saying here with this game is subjective, but the combat feels so much more authentic in a way than your average game with swords. The other focus of the game is trying to accurately represent the Middle Ages from the life of a commoner, something you don't really see in a lot of games. Medieval settings, if they're realistic, tend to focus on knights and kings, but Kingdom Come is the mud-on-your-boots version of medieval life, and that's one of the things that makes this game special. There's also the hardcore mode they just put out, which significantly increased the difficulty and immersion of the game. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 is deeply immersive in what it's rendering a realistic way, and the tiny little details it extends to clothing, the environment, and, quests that fit in that world. It's a game that feels like it was made by a bunch of serious history nerds, and seriously, it's better for it. Like, it's just a unique idea. And at number 9, we have Doom: The Dark Ages. Doom was supposed to be closed by now, and I mean that in every amusing sense. From the original games, you got Doom 2016 and then Doom Eternal, right? And so Doom: The Dark Ages brings the series back, but maybe over 1,000 years before the Slayer's awakening. Yes, these games have plots now, and they still manage to be fun despite this time. Instead of a shotgun, you have a shield, and a mace. It still works. Yes, I know, like, it sounds like a crazy leap, but it's well-worn Doom territory. Doom, is notorious, like violent, shooting, rocking, fun rhythm, counter-offensive type of visceral action, and somehow with melee weapons, well, the game retains a lot of that. This game has a lot of interesting things to bring to the table with big boss fights, more diverse level design, all those secrets and things to tuck away. It's a world worth exploring. On top of that, it has a sick driving score. I mean, we love all Doom music here. In a way, it's kind of like awe of what humanity has accomplished. You're a guy running around smashing things with a medieval sword, but there's an orchestra almost with rocks and guitars, and it's such a tapestry of sounds and visual excess that it borders on becoming art, seriously. Now, Doom the Dark Ages should have been another pack of levels for Doom Eternal, and there's really not a lot new here under the sun. That's kind of also the good part, because sometimes it's better not to mess with a classic. Coming in next, we have Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Now I know it's been and for a while, and for some people, it has certainly been kind of divisive. Some fans of the original think this game is good, but doesn't evolve enough upon the original. Personally, I kind of just take it for what it is, which is a considerable upgrade from the original Mount and Blade. At this point, it's pretty robust now, so like Bannerlord brings back combat, has huge scale battles, and then those RPG mechanics and a lot of that original game, but just with more fantastic graphics, smoother gameplay, and a lot of quality of life features. I'm a sucker for the graphics in a game like this, because a game like this, even if the graphics are ugly, I'd still be compelled to play it for a long time, but a game like this gives it to you. Now, for the uninitiated, Mount and Blade is just such a satisfying concoction of like management and hardcore battles. Yes, it can feel a little crunchy, maybe potentially a little janky at first, but you build up a small band of warriors to essentially a full army, and like I said, huge battles you will find yourself in. The game definitely isn't for everyone, but I wanted to talk about it because, when it's good, when you're into it, it really is very, very good, and it's another one of those games that's just constantly getting updates. So get it, throw a couple of mods on it, and that will definitely keep you busy for a long time. Next up, at number 7, many of you probably saw this one coming. It's Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, both Xbox and PlayStation owners were the first to experience this game, but ever since this game was released on PC and has been around for just so many years, it just will refuse to die, and good for it. It's not surprising to see this game having a constant fan base playing this game on a daily basis. Once you get your hooks in it, this game is so much fun to just live and breathe. Rockstar games in general just have such strong staying power. I mean, just look at Grand Theft Auto 5, right? But I would argue that Red Dead Redemption 2 is up there in like the shared Rockstar best games list, right? The game is just a technical masterpiece. The game isn't perfect. Some people absolutely hate it. For me, I almost dropped it, but glad I gave this game another shot, or else I won't be talking about this game today. Now, apart from the single-player campaign, there's also this Red Dead Online, which is the multiplayer version of the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can face some real-life cowboys in the game. Also, the modding community has really helped keep this as a popular game on PC specifically, and it's definitely worth a mention here. It's still one of the best-selling games of all time, and I'm telling you this now, people will still keep playing this game even GTA 6 or a new Red Dead Redemption game is released. Next, over at number 6, we have Farming Simulator 25. Despite being a really simple premise, I know we're all used to these types of games now, but it's actually surprising that literally millions of people are playing this game. It's not only like PC gaming nerds, it's a lot of people on console too. Many people love these games. They still sell well, they just keep on coming. We wanted to highlight Farming Simulator 25 because it's the latest and greatest. It is another farming simulator game with all the farming, the simulating, the planting, the growing, driving the tractors, all the good stuff. Many new quality of life improvements, but really this game, or I'd rather say this franchise, is really a total people pleaser. So here you're planting your crops, you're organizing your livestock, but they really add to everything here. The tools, the machinery, the complexity of managing all of this, the land, the products, it really, really does a good job. Hell, when I really sit and think about it, these games actually with each installment usually improve where it counts and don't really mess it up. This game really got some cool stuff. You have a farm across 3 distinct maps. There's weather, there's crop systems, you have changing seasons, tornadoes. Raising your cows and pigs is as rewarding as ever. You know, this game really got some cool stuff. You have a farm across 3 distinct maps, there's weather, there's crop systems, you have changing seasons, tornadoes, etc. Sure, again, if you're really tired of playing these games by now, I completely understand, but the rest of us will be busy trying to get all our fields squared away before winters end in the latest game. Now down at number 5, we have something very different, very cozy. It's Stardew Valley. Can you believe that this game was originally made by just one person? Right now, it's actually kind of a juggernaut of a game in a way. It's sold millions of copies, has ports on pretty much every platform, and the rest of the success of this game is total OG in gaming history. It's still very playable today, and still very fun. This game is just pure cozy bliss. It feels redundant to talk about or explain this game if you haven't played it yet, but basically you take your little pixelated character and you go to a farm, but then it's way more than just doing the farming, planting, and caring for plants. The game shows how much it really appreciates your time by giving you a bunch of different little things and goals to do to kind of guide you along the way to building your own farm and doing whatever. You can tend your farm, you can raise your crops. Your individual playstyle is highly customizable, and there are a whole wealth of activities beyond your farm life to engage, explore the nearby town, and befriend the NPCs who actually have some pretty good stories. Now, on the latest versions of this game, you can actually do a lot of new things compared to the version when it was first released. There are tons of games trying to capture Stardew Valley's magic, but in 2025, this game somehow still stands neat and clean on its own. And also, I know I'm leaving out the massive modding scene for the game, but that does make it infinitely replayable. This game absolutely lives past its intended life cycle. Now next on the list at number 3, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33. One of the newest games on the list and one of the most visually arresting ones, this is a turn-based RPG game where you play as a gang of adventurers tasked with finding and ending the titular paintress, an ominous figure who paints a number every year. When she does this, everyone of that age dies. The overview of the world alone filled me with intrigue, and the details just make it more interesting. It's rare for a game like this to have such a compelling premise. Honestly, I can't even think of another game where the basic setup is so original. Where most games lean on tired, world-ending, bad guy light themes, this entry in Expedition 33 posits a world where everyone knows and understands exactly how much time they have left before they die. It's a high concept idea that the game means too. It's a story that's engaging, sometimes humorous, and other times desperately melancholic. It sticks with you after you finish, and the traveling companions on this journey are equally memorable. It's a relatively short game, around 20 to 30 hours, give or take, which to me is a good thing. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and that works in its favor. It's a very streamlined RPG that more games should strive to be, and even at its relatively short length, it still packs in some of the best music I've heard in a while. Clair Obscur is one of those games you just want to live in, which is probably why I've already replayed it a few times. And now, down at number 3, we have Cyberpunk 2077. So stop me if you've heard this one before, but Cyberpunk had kind of a redemption arc, massive unforced error when they launched the game. On the one hand, that launch was worrying because it was just another case of a big games industry corporation just kind of lying to players, and in turn been doing probably too much shady stuff to the workforce behind the game itself. But on the other hand, in a lot of ways, these types of elements have existed in the games industry for a long time now. I mean, Cyberpunk existed as a punching bag in gaming, but in time, the developers' unflinching dedication in fixing things and really reworking and rethinking things and just getting rid of the bugs and the jank. This game has come a long way since launch. In 2025, the game just works, runs smooth too, and is just so much fun to play. I mean, it really is everything you could really want from a Cyberpunk game. Night City as a place is just an impressive open world. It looks great, it's exciting, you want to spend your time there doing stuff, the game hits, and if you do have an even crazier, beefier PC, it hits even harder. And the story, everything, it's just compelling stuff. One of the most atmospheric open worlds ever made, in my opinion, right now. On top of that, you got the Phantom Liberty DLC, which is excellent, by the way. People are still playing this because a lot of it, word of mouth, naturally took people a while to really come around to it. Coming in at number 2, we have Dune Awakening. When Funcom dropped the first trailer for this game, my first reaction was, sweet, it's basically Conan Exiles, but with Dune slapped on top, I'm in. My crew and I sunk hundreds of hours into Conan Exiles over the years. Sure, it had its fair share of bugs and janky moments, but we had a blast. So honestly, we figured Dune Awakening would just be a Dune-flavored version of the same thing. New skins, new lore, same old gameplay. But man, we were way off. Just like the planet Arrakis, this game is huge. I didn't really buy the whole MMO pitch at first. It just looked like another survival crafter like Conan or Ark. But I was wrong. This thing's on a whole different level. Whether you're flying solo or teaming up with friends, there's a ton to do. If you're a Dune fan, there's a gold mine of lore to dig into, especially in this alternate universe where Paul Atreides never existed. Dune Awakening isn't just a reskin, it feels like a real evolution of the survival genre, mixing in deep MMO-style questing, open-world exploration, base building, resource grinding, and tech progression. Even after we each clocked around 80+ hours, we're still finding new stuff to explore. It's way more than we expected, and we're loving it. Now down to number 1, we have Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, the penultimate PC game, the peak, the pinnacle, just the top, tip-top, whatever. Even in a series as absolutely legendary as this one, Baldur's Gate 3 is seen by many to be not just the best game of the series, but one of the best things we've gotten in a long time. It's a masterclass of a CRPG that hits on every single element exquisitely. It's got great writing, combat, freedom, impactful choices. It feels like it reacts to you more than any other game I can think of. And the ways it does is almost always impressive and surprising, and it finds new ways to suck you in and keep you interested. I mean, it is a time sink. This is a game that really demands a lot of your time, and it's certainly richly earned. It's one of the best RPGs ever made, period. Like, it really made a mark in gaming history on so many levels through breaking down barriers, red tape, skepticism, and like old suit-wearing pencil pushers not wanting to give money and time and effort to a thing this vast, this complex. You know, typically in the past, CRPGs, these types of things usually only grow with cult audiences. This is the one that had a mass market appeal in the 2020s, and clearly they spent a lot of money on it, and that all just comes across in every little detail, every session of this game.